And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. Saturday, 3:30, maybe. We'll be at the Holy Grail. It will be BCJ watch party as the Bearcats get set to take on the Central Florida Golden Knights. I know they love when we call them that. We will be there at 3:30. There will be bucket specials. They have great food. And every Cincy Light that you purchase from the Holy Grail, they will donate an extra 50 cents back into the Cincy Reigns NIL collective. So go to the Holy Grail, support the Bearcats, support Bearcat Journal, and more importantly, support the athletes that you cheer for at the University of Cincinnati by getting yourself as many Cincy Lights as you can responsibly consume. All right, let's get this show on the road. We got a big guest tonight. Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Dave's a Mets fan, so he's going back and forth here, watching the Mets, trying to finish off the Phillies in the NLDS. We'll try to keep his attention here as much as possible. But let's welcome in.
You got it. We're good.
None other than the head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats, Wes Miller. Coach, welcome into the show. I'm glad you pulled yourself away from watching film and going through practice and getting everything done that you need to get done to get ready for the season. We appreciate you taking time to join us.
Glad to be here as always, Chad and David. I'm happy to be on the show. Excited to talk Bearcat hoops. I am going to eat dinner when we're done. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to enjoy every second of it. We're done. I'm going to have my dinner and then get back to the film. This is a big time of the year for us in terms of preparation.
What's for dinner?
I picked up E&O Kitchen on the way home.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Quality.
Some sushi.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're not going to attempt to break the record then of Marty Gilliard, 2 hours and 39 minutes.
That's not happening tonight. But I over time, I've probably put in over 2 hours and 30 minutes on the pod.
I would say so.
I
would agree.
Definitely.
I would agree. But the funny thing was we asked Marty like 6 questions and he talked for 2 hours and 39 minutes. It was unbelievable.
Well, I heard him speak a couple weeks ago at the event in Fifth Third at the reception, and he was phenomenal. His passion, it shined through. So I'm sure it was the same on the pod.
It was something. But let's get right into it. Practice is underway. Coaches, generally there's a couple like phases of coaches leading into a season. The summer, I feel really good about my team. I like my guys. Then practice starts. And then the closer and closer you get to the season, the panic sets in of, are we ready? Are we going to be good to go when opening tip-off hits? Where are you at in that pendulum of liking your team to not sure that you're ready yet?
Well, I think, it was a productive summer. I think everything we do, we try to make purposeful. Like we don't just kind of roll it out and do things without reason. We were able to get to it pretty quickly this summer, and the continuity of guys being back, it kind of helped us move a little quicker. So I thought it was a productive summer, a productive fall. And in the first couple weeks of practice, we start so much earlier now than we used to. We used to start in the middle of October. And this, Chad, I mean, you'd spend 3.5, 4 weeks trying to cram everything in to get ready for the first game. Now, when you can start at the end of September, you can go through a couple different phases in the preseason. And in the first couple weeks, we're trying to install all of our defensive principles and really set a tone defensively. But also not overdo it. And our guys probably laugh if they heard me say that because we do get after it pretty good. But you don't want to overdo it physically. And we didn't do that the first 2 weeks. Now we're kind of in that next 2-week phase. And this is when I think you got to push a little bit. So we're pushing them a little more physically. We just went 3 days in a row pretty hard for the first time. We finished that today. And, now you're getting into some more of the details of the game, right? Trying to make sure you're installing all the aspects, day in, day out that you need to play a season. So it's not always just flow offense and defensive principles. People don't realize this, but you're trying to make sure whether it's how you play out of bounds or sideline out of bounds on offense and defense, it's situational stuff and pressing and, making sure your offensive packages are good, making sure your coverage is defensively, dealing with silly things that people don't think about, how you sub in and out of a game and how you huddle at the free throw line. And I mean, we're in the installation process. We're trying to iron some things out. And then, as you guys know, we'll get through this 2-week phase and we'll play against another opponent for the first time. We scrimmage or play Ohio State in the charity game, the end of next week. And then that'll be a different time for us because we'll learn so much the first time we play against somebody different than ourselves. And we'll try to learn from that and take those next 2 or 3 days that we're together and get the most out of that time we had against another opponent. And then we'll be right back to it with a scrimmage against another opponent the following week. And then we'll get through that and have kind of the same process that we'll have after the Ohio State game. And then we'll be in a game week. So it's going to happen really quickly. We got to get the most out of each one of these days. And I put a lot of pressure on myself and our staff to make sure we're prepared day in and day out. But it's a fun time for me. I really enjoy the preparation process and the preseason practices.
I know when you go through the summer, you have like each week is kind of a philosophy. You're like, this week we're working on transition offense, or this week we're working on, getting back into our base defense. Like, how much do you find that philosophy of like, okay, fragmenting it throughout the 8 weeks of the summer? And I know it's not hard and fast that you do it like this, but those lessons, how quick is it to come back? And especially with a veteran team that you say, hey, remember we worked on this second weekend in July, let's lock back in and get on the path.
You only have 4 hours a week with them in the summer. So depending on how you utilize that, for most of our weeks in the summer, the first 2 weeks, it's more straight skill development, making sure that they're back in the routine of working every day. But those last 6 weeks that we have in the summer, because it's 8 weeks total that the NCAA allows, it's either 2 or 3 team practices, right? I mean, because hour 20, and there you go, it's over. And they're not anything like your practices this time of year because the time is so condensed. So in those 2 or 3 times you get a week, I've learned this over the years. If you try to accomplish too many things, you really don't accomplish anything. So we do, and you can see this in our offices, we'll have a list of what our goals are to accomplish throughout those first couple weeks of summer practice, those second, we compartmentalize it. And it's usually, for the most part, Chad, David, it's big picture stuff, right? Base offensive principles, base defensive principles. It's learning how to play more than running plays, and then we're trying to learn a lot in the summer from letting them play, right? So I always say that, your players will teach you a lot if you give them an opportunity to. And so we do give them so much freedom in the summer. We give them a couple rules and stuff. Like I said, we put our base stuff in, but we let them play out of it. And a lot of times, if we do something really creative or something new, it might have been something they did on their own this summer when they had the freedom and creativity to do it. And it looked really good. We say, let's go put that in. So the summer is valuable as it is. It's not as much time as people think. And we do stick to the basics, the fundamentals, the base style of play, and we let them play a lot of basketball.
With having such a, you have a couple of transfers and a couple of young guys, but with a mainly top group of returning guys, as you come into the season, are you more fine-tuning their individual games and how it works as a collective, or is it still a lot of big picture stuff and we have, I don't know if you have slogans or sayings or whatever, but just how does that work with a more experienced team versus a younger team?
Well, the individual development, right? The player development piece for each individual player, there's going to be an aspect to that every single day. That would be with any team we ever coach, right? And so that's never going away. And there's different ways that we approach that as a program based on the time of year it is. But right now, this is probably the most demanding physical time day in, day out for a college player is preseason practice. And they're still coming in the mornings and getting shots up, every single one of them, working on their games. Now, it's probably not as physically strenuous in the morning because we're so much more demanding in the afternoon. Then there's aspects of our practice that are about straight player development. There may be a specific aspect of it that's designed around our style of play, but we're doing stuff to develop the players personally every day that we're allowed to get our hands on them. Having an older or younger team, I don't think that's affected at all. But, not to dodge your question, I think, when you have an older team and a team that's with some guys that have been together, I think we can get to some things quicker that we maybe couldn't have gotten to in the past, right? Because they're just further along because they've had the experience. They can pick things up faster. And the new guys, they're kind of forced to grow at that rate as well. And it helps. I said this in my press conference the other day. When there's 7, 8 guys out there that know what to do and how to do it, now the new guys have an example. And I think that helps the rate of learning, right? Or it makes the learning curve go faster for everybody. So there is benefit there for sure.
This is a little off topic, not off topic, but a guy like Tyler McKinley, when something like that happens, how much does it affect you? Because and I like Tyler is, to express this to the fan base, an incredible human being, like one of the nicest, like most genuine kids you will ever find. He works his butt off. He was having a great offseason, like surprisingly good offseason, I think. And how much does it affect you when something like that happens, knowing how difficult this next year is going to be for him?
They're the worst days and worst times as coaches, right?
Yeah.
Any kid that's going through something like that there's certain levels of adversity that are healthy for young people. All of us, right? It's part of our growth process. It's not always fun while we're going through it, but it's what makes us who we are. It makes us better. And in coaching, we understand that. This is something well beyond that, right? You don't ever want anybody to have to go through something like this. And it's a part of sports. It happens. We've been fortunate. These kind of things haven't happened often in the 14 years I've been a head coach. We haven't had a lot of injuries like this, but it's just a part of the game. But when it does happen, man, it's heartbreaking. And I'm like I've said this publicly. I mean, heartbroken for him, and I'd be heartbroken for any kid. But as you mentioned, he's an easy one to pull for because he is a terrific human being. And, you say, well, he's a freshman. You hadn't known him that long. I've known Tyler as long as any kid that I've coached at Cincinnati because we started recruiting him within the first couple months of being here. And he's a local kid, so we know him and his family, his mom, Arlinda, his brother, Alex. I mean, and they're a really tight-knit group. So you're heartbroken. And then, you just know what he's going through. And nobody would have a better attitude about something like this than Tyler McKinley, but internally he's just beat up. So yeah, it's an awful thing.
You mentioned replacing John Newman in your press conference this week and the challenges that presents, probably both on the court and in the leadership capacity. I'm more interested in the leadership part of it, being kind of who he was for the team for the last several years. How do you hope that I mean, I don't expect you to say, like, I'm looking to this person to fill that role, but how do you hope that gets that role does get taken from someone else on the team this year?
Yeah, I said this a bunch about John while he was playing here. The value that he brings is so much greater than what you see on a stat sheet or what you can just see when he's running up and down the court with the lights on. He was one of those guys that certainly he was a leader in terms of he was a leader by example in terms of his approach. And, the guy was the ultimate competitor and was willing to sacrifice things just to go compete and do the little things that we all value, right? All of us, all our fans value, and we value. But, he was the example of how you do that. So he's a leader in a lot of ways. But maybe the thing, David, that people don't realize, I mean, just the spirit that he had every day, right? I mean, John was happy every day. He was ready to work every day. He enjoyed people, or he does enjoy people, and, enjoys building relationships and being around people. That's infectious. in a locker room. It's infectious walking into a practice facility every day. And certainly, when like we lost David DeJulius 2 years ago, who was a leader in his own ways and was a powerful personality in our program. When you lose guys like that, you feel the effects of it for sure. But that's what's also neat about college athletics is it creates opportunities, for others to emerge within who they are and, for teams to find new identities in that locker room. And that's always been fun over the years to watch younger guys kind of build into bigger roles. Well, everything I'm saying about John, he wasn't like that the day he got here, right? So he grew into that, and we'll have guys that grow into leadership roles in their own right this year. And that's going to be a fun process.
We saw a little bit of that, I think, from Dan yesterday. I don't know if you've had a chance to see his media availability, but I think Bob Mangine calls him your son because you two are so close. Dan does seem to have matured quite a bit. Like, he still has that fun, kind of happy spirit about him, but he looks like he's more serious about, the way he approaches every day.
Yeah. And, Dan's matured a lot. He's grown up a lot. And, I'm proud of that. And there's others, right? I mean, it wouldn't be fair to just talk about one guy, but no, Dan certainly. And you can see in our practices, his ability to focus, his attention to detail. He's way more serious. He has way more awareness of what's going on the court. You've seen a lot of, you can just honestly, over the first 2 weeks of practice, a significant amount of growth. And, like him and a bunch of other guys, they have to continue to grow up and emerge into leadership roles within, their own identity of who they are. I don't want anybody to be John Newman. I want Dan to be the best version of Dan and Day-Day to be the best version of Day-Day. And, you see Moss and you keep kind of going down the line. But no, that's one of the neat part. You talk about the Tyler McKinley situation is one of the worst feelings you can have as a coach. Some of the neatest things about coaching behind the scenes are watching these guys grow up. And, fortunately, we got a number of guys going through that right now.
With these scrimmages that most teams have now kind of replacing the old exhibition games, what, from your guys' standpoint, or do you try to get out of a game like you're going to have against Ohio State or any other game? You obviously treat it somewhat like a real game, but you want to see as much as you can. So what, from your standpoint and the coaching staff standpoint, what are kind of the main objectives that you guys try to get out of those exhibition games?
Well, listen, first off, it's not a real game. It's a charity game. But in certain aspects, I want it to be a real game. Let's be honest here. I mean, whether it's our current players or the people that we're out there recruiting, people talk, and I'm not singling out any one person here. I'm not speaking in code, but people talk a lot of crap in recruiting now, and they can talk it to your own players sometimes about, your environment's not as good as other places. And, you don't get the support. We say we got the best support you can have, college basketball here in Cincinnati. So I hope our fans approach it like a real game. That'll be a really important moment for us, to show people that have been saying that we're not as serious about basketball here. And that, even though that sounds crazy to you and me and Chad and David, because we know people here love it. We've been hearing that people have been saying that to guys we're recruiting, or, and who knows who the heck else. So I'm in that sense, I hope it's a real game environment and what Fifth Third is going to be like all year long. And we certainly saw what it's capable of last year, and it was special. The other thing is we're competitive, man. We're Bearcats, right? I mean, there's an edge of competitiveness that I don't have to explain that's expected here. So when we play a possession, I expect us to be as competitive as all get out. I expected us to be that competitive in practice today. So we're going to try to win every possession that we play. But there's another notion of this that, nobody in January is going to care who won the charity game. I mean that, people are going to care what your record is, how you're doing in your league, and all that kind of stuff. And so it is a tool to prepare for the season. So as we coach the game and substitute and, strategize and all that stuff, we will not approach that like a game, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? We're going to play everybody. We're going to look at different combinations. We won't be tricky in terms of what we're doing defensively. We probably won't do much of a scout on Ohio State, right? Like stuff that we would do for any and every opponent. We won't do that because it's more about what we can learn about ourselves and how we can use it as a tool to get prepared for the season. So I don't want anybody to go, well, they're not competitive. Heck, no, we're gonna want to go win every possession and want to go have the most success we can have. But in the big picture scheme as a coach, the ultimate goal is to learn and grow from this game. I actually looked at, I want to say Purdue and Arkansas played a charity game last year at Arkansas, and I can't remember who won. I think it came down to the last shot or something. But let's just there's a good. I don't even know who dang won, but I know Purdue was playing on the last Monday night of the season against UConn in the national championship, and I know Arkansas wasn't in the tournament. So it does the game that these games at the end don't really matter, but they can help you improve as a team, and that's the ultimate goal of it. But hey, listen, I hope it's rocking in there. I hope that helps us and gets us prepared. Hope our guys get a sense for what Fifth Third and our fan base is all about, and getting in front of people and getting in front of our fans. That's good to do that for the first time before the first real game.
When it comes to roster construction, you've had a pretty long view of building this thing up and not trying to cut corners and trying to step by step put all the pieces together kind of, I don't want to say in the right way because I think that's cheesy. Everybody tries to do it the right way. But are you happy with where like this process? Because I know in year one, it's like you're scrambling. And then year two, you've figured out, okay, this is what we've got. This is what we've got coming back. Here's what we need. As you get to year four, do you feel like, okay, we're at a place where, you're able to go out and handpick a Dylan Mitchell or a Connor Hickman or a, Arrington Page? Like, is that process where you wanted it to be when you took this job, like looking long term?
It's so crazy to hear you guys say year four. I feel like I just got here. I mean, it's amazing, how quickly time flies when you're just into something day after day. And I mean that.
It feels like you've been dealing with me for a lot longer than you just got here.
That's right. In one sense, I feel like Cincinnati's truly home now, and I have a feel for my surroundings, and they've developed some great relationships in this town and community. So that sense, I feel like I've been here for a little bit. But the basketball, I'll say this, and this isn't complaining. There's been a lot more transition year after year, especially those first 3 years, than I ever would have imagined when I took the job. And I'm not complaining. It's just true. I mean, you're going to have any transition as you take a job, especially when you take a job late in the spring, right? And there was a depleted roster. And so that first year was like, looking back on it now, we were sitting there in June worried about having a team that could practice, that type of thing. And then during that first year, they introduced, NIL, transfer portal got introduced for the first time as we were taking the job. We didn't even know what NIL meant at the time. And so the process that's been over every recruiting cycle since I got here is created transition. And then the Big 12, and the announcement of that and how you got to change how you think about building a program and, who you're competing against. And then the actually going into the Big 12. It's been a ton of different transitions, and that's been awesome. Like that's how you get better. It's forced our program to grow. It's made us deal with things we didn't expect, and in a lot of ways that's been awesome. I'm very thankful for it. But if you can put all that in context, last spring was the first time because Day Thomas and Jizzle James and Dan Skillings and Seamus Lukosius and Aziz Mandego and Josh Reed and Rayvon Griffith and CJ Anthony, like with getting all those guys back, we can really build a team around them. And we had an understanding of, we've coached in the Big 12. We have an idea what this NIL thing is, and this transfer portal. Like, it was the first time it felt like, okay, we're working from an area at least we have awareness of, where at times and I imagine a lot of college coaches feel like this at times the last 3 or 4 years. It's like you're working hard, but you're trying to hit a moving target. You don't even know what you're working on half the time because of all the different changes we've had. So I did feel that to a certain extent, but I give the credit to these guys that chose to stay with us. And again, I think for us to be a good team this year, that has to matter a lot.
You mentioned NIL. I just how you talk about moving targets year over year. The market changes. You can't talk about specific recruits, but just how hard is that as a decision maker? Last year, the going rate for this level of player was XYZ. And now you think, okay, there's going to be a little bit of inflation, but maybe instead of 30%, it's 80% from what it was a year ago. And so you might have, okay, we have, this much allotted for this, this opening that we're looking for. And then you get into the market and all of a sudden the level of player you want costs 2 or 3 times more than what you were anticipating. How in the world do you guys navigate this and work with Cincy Reigns and because it sounds like it's impossible.
Well,
right now, at least.
It's certainly extremely challenging. And but the first thing I'd say is we're not it's
Sure.
challenging for everybody. So it's not just been challenging just for Cincinnati basketball. This has been challenging for everybody in college basketball. And so, that part, at least everybody's dealing with it. If you felt like you were the only one, that would be frustrating. I've never been one to sit back and complain about things you can't control. Let's just roll up our sleeves and dig in and try to figure it out and not lose our values in the process and continue to do things in a way we believe in. And that's what we try to do. But yeah, it's challenging. You guys were doing a promotion for Cincy Light and Cincy Reigns. I honestly, if our supporters are paying attention and listening to this, man, go. If you have the ability, help us there. It moves the needle in the biggest way. And we've had people that have been very generous and helpful there. We need more of it, and that's just what it is. At some point, all of us, fans, coaches, administrators, the players, it's going pretty good for the players, right? And I do think the players deserve to be compensated, but all of us just want to kind of know what we're working with. I think the hardest thing has been, as you mentioned, it just continues to change at such a rapid rate, and trying to understand that's difficult. At some point, it will get ironed out, and there will be some level of understanding of what we're doing and consistency over a period of time. I hope that happens tomorrow. It won't. It'll happen. But in the meantime, we got to do everything we can to be as competitive as anybody in the country. And this is where it's cool to be somewhere like Cincinnati, where a lot of people care. We need every single person to help in a way that's comfortable for them. And that will move the needle in a major way for our program.
That includes going to the Holy Grail and buying Cincy Light, just so you know.
Yeah, listen, I always thought that was one of the greatest ideas I've heard to generate NIL is you create a way to drink beer and help Cincinnati athletics in Cincinnati. And listen, I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, guys, but I learned this is a beer drinking town. And so that was pretty dang good. So drink as much Cincy Light as you can. Now you're winning because you're having fun and it's good. And you're helping our program or helping our athletic programs. But we need help in even a bigger way than that for people that are capable of it.
Dave and I have both cut back lately, so that's been a serious hit to the funding. Sorry.
It might be good for the diet, but
well, yes, for sure. Year 2 in the Big 12. Just first year, was it what you thought? We knew it was going to be a bear. Was it even more? And is there anything that you guys take from year 1 that you think can potentially help you navigate this again this year with an even bigger Big 12? Somehow it's getting more daunting.
Yeah. It's different. I mean, listen, you could, anybody, including myself, somebody that, is passionate about college basketball, but anybody that follows college basketball, even an inkling, if you've been paying attention, you've been alive the last 5 years, the league has been head over heels above every other league. And that's not opinion. I mean, that's fact. In any statistical category that you want to mention, that's fact. It's been the best league in America by a pretty good long shot over a 5-year period. So it's not like you don't know that you're entering something that's going to be challenging and competitive. We knew that last year. We certainly know that now. The difference now is you've been through it, so you just have a little more wisdom and experience. And yeah, I always think experience matters. I do. And so having some experience coaching, playing, I think there's value in that.
We want to get you out of here fairly soon because you've got sushi that we don't want to go bad, and I don't want you to be.
Yeah, this ain't gonna be good very much. I mean, and you guys thought I was lying. I mean, I got right here.
You should have put it in the fridge for a couple minutes. Something.
Well, I'm like you guys. I'm trying to eat good, so I'm trying. I got some sushi tonight. I'm trying to work on the diet. Graders isn't helping, guys. It doesn't help.
I talk to you a lot at Graders. Coach, what are you doing?
I mean, if we're going to talk, what's the go-to flavor?
I know.
I'm going to see if you know. I probably go to, and I'm not lying, I probably go to Graders 4 or 5 times a week, and that's.
Well, if you need the hookup,
I'm not proud of that.
Let Chad know, because I have the hookup for you. That you won't have to go.
I'm a proud supporter of Graders. I'm happy to pay for my ice cream. But what's the what do you think my order is? I get the same thing every time.
I know. I've talked to you a couple times where you've told me to hold on while you order your order.
He says he knows. Now he's not.
I'm trying to remember it. I'm trying. Double scoop, I think is right, with sprinkles. Is it chocolate chip?
Close.
The black is. Do you do black raspberry chocolate chip? No,
I get 1 scoop of chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
And 1 scoop of like the Oreo
cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream.
Yeah, that's the money one.
So I get.
I remember the 2 scoops. I remember the sprinkles.
Of the non-seasonal ones, I love the key lime pie.
Yeah, I literally get the same thing. I couldn't tell you what everything else tastes like. I've tried the Boldly Bearcat because that was cool when it came out. And I thought it was good, but I mean, I like what I like, that type of thing.
That's right. I'm not going to ask you any more questions so you can eat your sushi. So you can just say Chad is the one that kept you from getting to dinner.
I have one more.
Okay.
A lot of people, when we get into the season, people are going to complain, start this guy, start that guy. How much time is spent on like the rotations, the who's on the floor with who? Because you have an interesting mix of, wings that can drive, guards that can shoot, guards that are athletic. Like, do you look at, like, we want this much shooting on the floor, we want this much rim protection or defense? How does that formula work out? Or how do you arrive at that equation as you're going into the season? Because it's one of the things that fans, if you have a bad shooting night, then you didn't play the shooters enough. If you have a bad defensive night, you didn't play the best defenders enough. Like, that's how fans work. They're fanatic. But how much time goes into that? And like, what is an inside look at the process?
Never tell fans not to be fans. I love it. I love people's
right,
interest.
Of course.
And all
I'm not
that.
saying they're wrong.
That's why I have a job, right? People care. I mean, it's cool. But that stuff to me couldn't be more ridiculous, right? I mean, and I try to remind our players that. And again, I'm not knocking people. It's just the interest is what makes, like, it's why our arena's full and why we're on television. So I get it, but no, like, it's never as simple as you see over a 40-minute game. And we live in a society now where people rush to immediate judgments instantaneously. But any person in the world who can take a step back knows that nothing in their life, in our lives, is instantaneous. Like nothing we ever achieve is like happens exactly when we want it, how we want it to happen. And so everybody, if they really think about it, can relate. But as you mentioned, that's the fun part of being a fan, is you get to go, have your opinions and get on Twitter and do all that kind of crap. Listen, we think about it every way from sideways, right? When we're putting a roster together, we're trying to make sure that we have the right combinations to be successful, the right amount of depth, the right amount of talent. Like we think deeply about that stuff. As we're going through the entire offseason, preseason, we're working on playing different combinations together. I'll tell you guys, no matter what you think as a coach, the guys will surprise you, right? Like you'll go, maybe on paper that didn't make sense, or statistically, analytically that didn't make sense, but that just works together. And maybe something that made a ton of sense doesn't. I mean, we're doing all those types of things day in and day out, but we have so much more data than everybody else does because we have them every single day in practice, right? And so it's the body of work that helps us make those kind of decisions. What's fun this year, based on the last couple of years, I mean, hey, Davion Thomas is pretty proven in the Big 12, so you already have an idea, right? I mean, Jizzle James was proven in the Big 12. Dan Skill, like CMOS, AZ, like Josh, you got guys that have already proven it at this level, and that helps you from a preparation standpoint. And then you mentioned it, you're able to plug guys in from a recruiting standpoint that fit around the guys you already have. So I think we have a better understanding of that now than maybe previous years, but it's always a process. And by the way, we're going to learn our team as we go a little too, right? I mean, it's not like whatever we roll out from a lineup standpoint, the first, 2 or 3 games of the season, that we're married to that. We're going to learn as we go as well, and make adjustments accordingly. So the players ultimately will earn and decide kind of what happens, but it's nice to have a group where you can expect some things.
Have you yelled at Drew Adams for not getting Connor Hickman here sooner?
Connor's been great, guys. He's been great. But so have a bunch of other guys.
Yeah.
And I'd say the same thing about Arrington Page, and I'd say the same thing about Dylan Mitchell, and I'd say the same thing about Tyler Betsy. Like, I mean, gosh, I wish they were here last year and the year before, and I wish we had them all for 10 years, And so, yeah, Connor's been great. I would have loved to have had him, but I feel the same way about a lot of these guys.
Appreciate you, Coach. Go eat your sushi.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
We'll see you next Friday night.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it. There you go. Cincinnati Bearcats head coach Wes Miller. A disclaimer. I didn't do this was purposeful. Normally when we have Wes on to preview the season, we kind of go player by player down the roster. He did that Tuesday. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, the Tuesday press conference that's in the videos on the YouTube channel, you'll get a lot of Wes Miller talking about individual players. And because he did that Tuesday, I thought this was a better opportunity to maybe talk about some different things that, we don't get to, because when we have him on, we want to ask about the players and all that good stuff. The other thing is, Dave, most of this roster, like, we don't have to ask a lot of questions about.
No.
So I thought it was beneficial to get Wes on here and kind of have a different kind of conversation tonight than just how does Dan look? How does Jizzle look? How does, Day look? So there you go. That's kind of the thought process. For anybody wondering why we didn't talk a bunch about the roster, is that is in the video from Tuesday. Thanks everybody for enjoying. No need to thank me for setting this up. Other than Luke was always great about jumping on. Wes has been as hospitable as anybody. Whenever I say, "Hey, can we get you for an interview?" He almost always says yes. Unless, like, I asked him last week, "Can we get you Wednesday night?" And I have a recruit that I will be at dinner with. So, no.
Yeah.
But thank you, Wes, as always. Great stuff and a lot of insight into the program. And we're, you know what, 9 days from a home exhibition game. That other super secret scrimmage that he mentioned, if you have not paid attention yet, he's not allowed to say it because it's super secret. I don't have those reservations, so I can say that they are playing Pitt in the super secret scrimmage. So you'll get a tune-up against Ohio State, a tune-up against Pitt, who's supposed to be pretty good this year, supposed to have a good team in the ACC. So you'll get two pretty quality tests before the season gets cruising. Do you want to hit on this other basketball stuff before we get into football? Since everybody was talking about it today.
Sure.
Schedule, times, and TV was released this
Can we
afternoon.
timestamp Wes first?
Yeah, we can timestamp West first. That's fine. Let's get to a Turtles Brew timestamp. 6% ABV, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, gluten-free. It's a bourbon-infused sweet tea. They have strawberry, mint, lemonade tea, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's 100 locations in and around Ohio, over 50 in the greater Cincinnati area. It is great stuff. Everybody I have had try Turtles Brew has loved it. Go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. You can get the plastic bottles, or you can get the pouches. The pouches either come in a 1-pack or a 5-pack, and you'll love it. I promise. If you like sweet tea, if you like bourbon, it's right up your alley. Dave doesn't like bourbon, and he liked it. So what's that tell you? You did like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's good.
Scheduled dates. The teams and dates were already released. Today, we got the networks and the times. And people were.
And I said poo poo, and everybody went crazy.
There's 2 games that everybody's upset about. Ultimately, if I promise, if these 2 games weren't on ESPN Plus, everybody would have been thrilled with the way that this thing played out, especially in comparison to last year, when 2 out of every 3 games was on ESPN Plus. Yeah. That is not the case this year. They have 7 ESPN Plus games in their 20 conference games, 13 games on linear TV. But the Crosstown Shootout and the Kansas game are on ESPN Plus. It caused an uproar. Look, I get it. But let's just get this out of the way. ESPN is not trying to screw the University of Cincinnati. They're not.
Au contraire, mon frere.
Okay.
I think there is a deliberate effort to not let the University of Cincinnati football team or men's basketball team play any weekend night games by the Big 12 or ESPN. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
How many Big 12 night games has UC basketball and football had since they've been in the Big 12?
Like weekend night games?
Yes.
I don't know.
I can answer that for you. 0.
I don't want basketball on a Saturday night. I want basketball at 2:00 on a Saturday.
You are the media. I'm talking about the fans.
Do the fans really want that? Like, if you get it, if you
according
get basketball,
according to the mentions in the tweet that I sent, they do.
For me, football, I get. Like, football is a long. Like, if you're there 2-3 hours before the game to tailgate, you got a 4-hour football game, maybe an hour to get home. Like, that's an 8-hour day, like just the football game. I get it. For basketball, you show up, you walk in the gym, they play for 2 hours, and you leave. That's like a 3-hour commitment. You can be done by 5:00 on a Saturday, still go out and get dinner and have like a normal Saturday night.
I'm mostly joking, but
I know.
I think I don't have as big of a problem with the Kansas one. You'd like to have your a marquee game like that on a channel that
sure.
I can easily hit channel back when I'm watching another game, or if I'm got the quad box on my YouTube TV, it's not going to be in one of those boxes. The Xavier one is the one that I'm just kind of you and I talked about this. That is a loaded day.
It is.
I mean, a bunch has been made about December 14th being like arguably one of the greatest days in college basketball history, with, I want to say, double-digit, like, big-time games. And people might not want to hear it, but it kind of tells you where the rivalry stands in that pecking order, or at least
Look, I'm just going to be honest, Dave.
Where those teams currently stand in that pecking order.
If Cincinnati was playing a team that had had more success than one NCAA tournament in the past 6 years, the game probably would be.
Yeah. Or if Xavier was playing a team that had.
It holds true for both.
Yeah. I mean, what did you say? One trip in 11 seasons, combined seasons?
Yeah. UC's missed the last 5. Xavier's made one of the last 6. So they've essentially both made one of the last 6. So 2 of the last 12. Like, it's you might not want to hear this. It's not as hot a rivalry as it once was when for years and years and years you could just pencil both teams into the tournament and you could basically pencil both teams into being ranked. It has not been that for over half a decade. So you can't be totally surprised that this is the case. Also, people have to also remember X should be good this year. UC should be good this year. They should both be top 20, 30 level teams. You also have to remember for the Big 12, the Fox portion of their deal doesn't kick in until next year. Right. So there will be more linear spots available a season from now on regular Fox, on FS1 for Big 12 teams that will help mitigate this some. I understand being upset that the Crosstown Shootout is not on linear TV. I personally, Dave, am working on that. I'm making some calls to see if there's anything that can be done to maybe get this game on a local network. But
we all get it. Like, the ESPN is not, and whether it's ESPN or Peacock for the Big Ten or whoever, they're not going to just put like all of the air quotes bad games on the streaming, because then who the hell is going to pay for it? We all understand that, and maybe you're going to get some Xavier people that don't have ESPN Plus because they don't have football, and maybe they don't feel like they have a reason to have it unless they're just like overall big basketball fans. Like, maybe some of them will subscribe to it, but just in general sense of the term, like, even if it's just in Cincinnati, it would be outstanding if someone locally simulcast the game and made it an event. Like, that's the part that I feel like, and now we're going to date ourselves, like the old Fox 19 days, like that game and the day of, and even the week of leading into the game was an event. Like,
sure.
there still are like kickoff, events and stuff like that. But like, whoever was hosting their channel or whatever would have a whole day's run up, or at least a pregame show from the arena. And it just, I understand that that's a bygone time and that money drives everything. But it would be nice if someone was able to do that and at least locally kind of turn it back into what it used to be.
There's the schedule of games for December 14th. Gonzaga, UConn, Georgetown, Syracuse, Creighton, Alabama, UCLA, Arizona, Texas A&M, Purdue, Tennessee, Illinois, NC State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Auburn, Ohio State, Louisville, Kentucky. Like, it is a wild day of basketball. So
Yeah.
You know,
But like
that's what's
you
feeling
were
up.
saying, I mean, UC does only have 7 ESPN Plus games
In conference, yeah.
Yes, some Colorado 16.
16 of their 20 conference games are on ESPN Plus. Kansas and Arizona are the lowest, and they're like 5 or 6. UC has 7. Iowa State and Houston have 8. Like Baylor is up there in that 7-8 range. Like UC is right on line with where they are predicted in the conference, like in the grouping that they're in on number of games that are on ESPN Plus. They are going to get plenty of TV exposure.
Matt brings up a good point that you and I totally went over our heads, is that weekend is, we were talking about football, and it's probably that probably is the first weekend of the playoff.
I don't think so, because don't they give them a week after the conference championship games, or do they play it like next
because at first most of the teams in the conference championship games are probably like either getting a bye.
Yeah, but they don't announce it until after the morning after the conference championship games.
Right.
Like
so
the
it would be
matchups
like
aren't set.
December 8th.
I don't think they play on the first.
Maybe they don't. I mean, I haven't given the playoff schedule, to be honest, a real good look over, but we'll see. And the NFL has now started to try to sprinkle in some more late season Saturday games. So
December 20th is the
first day.
The first game, yeah. Friday, December 20th.
Yeah.
That day is Army Navy. Yes.
God, we could get 12-0 Army versus 12-0 Navy.
Well, that would be in the conference championship, and then we would get them again for the Army-Navy game in the next week, because Army and Navy are now both in the American.
Oh, I know.
They would play each other in the conference championship game.
Tulane does play Navy, so.
Yes. So, yeah, the Dayton game would be the college football playoff weekend.
Yeah.
But look, nobody's out to get UC. They are right in line with where their expectations are in terms of number of games that are going to be on streaming. I thought everybody cut the cord, Dave. That's the part I'm confused about. I thought everybody cut the cord, and now everybody just does streaming.
Well, yeah, but they do, but they have to do 9 different streaming platforms, and my streaming, unless ESPN Plus gets integrated into YouTube TV, it's still go to the, I like just being able to flip back and forth, and you just can't do that with streaming, unfortunately.
Do you know the one thing that's good about streaming, Dave, with the 2:00 game?
I don't. What?
You're not going to have to wait for the noon game to end.
No, that is true.
So you're not going to pick up UC Xavier at the under 8 timeout.
The idea that the college basketball games are getting done in 2 hours is just laughable. Just laughable.
Ron, 4th in this conference is going to be you understand. When
4th
you
in this conference will be top 12 in the country.
Yeah,
maybe top 10.
I think Bart Torvik came out with his rankings projections today, and there were 7 Big 12 teams in the top 16 or 18, something like that.
Yeah.
I think Texas Tech was 17th. They were the number 7 ranked team in the projections on Bart Torvik, or in the analytics, however the analytics come out. So Houston is the top 10 team. Iowa State is a top 10 team. Kansas is a top 10 team. Baylor is right there as a top 10 team. Arizona is right there as a top 10 team. And then you have Cincinnati, BYU, and Texas Tech. 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. Kansas State is probably going to be up around that line as well. It's Evan Maya, my bad. UC is 15, Texas Tech is 16, 7 in the top 16 teams. It's over half of the top 16 teams are in the Big 12 going into the season.
It seems like a challenge.
As Butch Jones would call it, a great challenge. It's a great challenge. Butch would say that every week before every game, no matter
Butch
who
coming
they play.
up with a new line was
Great
also a
challenge.
great challenge.
So I get everybody wants the everything to be on their terms. But this is the thing I said on social media today, Dave. We all like the money that comes in from the TV deals.
Yeah.
The TV providers are going to do what they feel is best to maximize their investment. And you become a pawn in that game. Why? Because UC worked for 15 years to get back into the club. And now they are back in the club. You can't be upset that they're playing by the rules provided by the club. This is part of how it goes. Does it stink that UCNX is going to be on ESPN Plus? Yeah, it's not ideal. But we've been doing streaming for so long now that it's just part of, like, it's become part of life. I actually kind of like, I've got a big computer monitor. I can watch it right here and then just click over to social media and tweet, or click over to the board and check out the game thread. Like, I like the accessibility I have, and then I can have another game right over here on the TV. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, even in their complaints, they understand that that is the trade-off to certain things. But I still enjoy when, fans get pissed off about it because they feel like we're being aggrieved by the four-letter word that's ruining. Well, I'm not going to say college basketball; they're ruining college football. But whatever.
The ratings are better than ever, Dave.
Yes.
Better than ever.
We do have not. This is not breaking news or anything, but we have wind gusts of 60 miles an hour recently reported at the Orlando Executive Airport.
That's not bad. That's only 60.
Well,
It was what, 170 yesterday.
I mean, that's just the initial band of the hurricane.
Well, they say it's angling south-southwest, which is a good thing because that would be south-southwest, south of Orlando, which
we'll see.
It's still going to get pummeled, but it might not get.
The heaviest stuff is right over inland St. Pete and Tampa right now.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Made landfall at 120 miles an hour.
That's about how fast I throw a fastball.
Times 2.
Oh, I couldn't even hit times 3.
You're at 40 right now?
Maybe. My arm would probably fall off if I was really on a mound and tried to throw it as hard as I could.
I always laugh at those games at the carnival or the fair or whatever. Like, how many people have to get surgery because they don't normally throw a baseball and they're trying to
the punching machines that show you how hard your punches, how many broken hands or missing the thing altogether and punching the actual machine.
Yeah, Natty Ron, that's probably smart. Doing anything in Florida in October it's not ideal.
No.
And there's another one already kind of lining up to come in behind this one. It should be 3 storms, 3 major hurricanes in 3 weeks through the Gulf of Mexico.
That's right.
Where's Siesta Key in relation to Orlando? So
Southwest.
Orlando and Tampa are directly across from each other.
Orlando's a little north. It's probably no.
It's an hour and a half drive.
Yeah.
From Cincinnati to Cincinnati to Columbus.
It's exactly I was going to just say that. It is exactly that. It is it's kind of like a steady northeastern drive, just like it would be from Cincinnati to Columbus.
Siesta Key is a little south of Orlando, I think.
No, Siesta Key is south of Tampa.
I know, but I mean, in terms of where it is to Orlando, it is on the latitude longitude line. It's just a little south, I think. Whatever. No, it's north.
No, it's considerably south.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way. Well, I mean, I'm kind of, we can, do you want to do another ad read and we can then go to football?
Sure. That timestamp is brought to you by Turtles Brew. Once again, 6% ABV, zero sugar, zero carbs, gluten-free, bourbon-infused sweet tea. Go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. We will get into the we don't have, obviously, a game to talk about. So this will be more getting into our UCF preview and talking about the things that need to be talked about. It's brought to you by Homefield Apparel. As you can see, I got my Go Bearcats baseball 1954 shirt on. I was talking about this one last week. I remembered to go up and toss it on before the show this week. So I wanted to get that one out there. It's one of my favorites. They also have the national championship shirt for the 61 team, I think. But a lot of great stuff. A massive Cincinnati line of apparel now. They have the pullovers, the old 90s style pullovers that just came out with the Bearcat logo and the old 1992 script on it. They've got the coaches' jackets. They've got hoodies. I have my hoodie on this morning, Dave, because it's getting cold at 7 a.m. when I take Kelsey to school. A little chilly, so I throw on the old gray Homefield Apparel hoodie. Might tomorrow, maybe I'll rock the red cat script, but whatever you want. T-shirts, quarter zips, joggers, fleeces, hoodies, you name it. Homefield has it. Go now. Enter code BCJ24 at checkout. You will save 15% off of your order. Go support one of the best apparel brands that carries University of Cincinnati apparel, if not the best outside of, GoBearcats.com. But get you one of these. It's super soft, super comfortable. Love wearing it around the house. And it could be yours as well. So homefieldapparel.com, code BCJ24. You'll get 15% off of your order. All right, Dave. What do you got? What do you got on? Will this game happen? Will it not happen?
I mean, that's kind of like
I'll be back in one second.
I guess you have to do a preview because as of right now, it is happening. Everybody down there obviously deals and plans around this stuff all the time. I'm still a little surprised that I think it's Memphis USF game that was scheduled for Friday night had been moved to Saturday afternoon. I don't know if that was moved Monday, but that has been moved. But there, I saw an FCS game at Stetson, I believe, was canceled or postponed. But other than that, it seems to be all systems go and just kind of, I guess, waiting until the last minute to assess damage and things of that nature. Far be it for me to tell the two universities in the Big 12 how to operate. I think that maybe is a little, short-sighted. Not really fair to especially the UCF players who knows what the heck is going on with their family members and stuff like that. I'm sure from a peace of mind standpoint, they would like to know, are we going to just go ahead and move this thing so I can concentrate on some other things that are more important than a football game, considering that, I'm watching the news and watching the weather and stuff. And, especially on the east side of the state or the west side of the state, I mean, there's people's houses of all their stuff is still on the street from Helene that they haven't even been able to go through those areas and pick up all the stuff that was damaged from that storm. And now they're staring down another one. I understand that, it's important, but like it's not really that important to be sitting here on a Wednesday night and not really know what's going on. Like the UC guys, nothing changes for them. They wake up and are told or not told, like we're going, we're not going, whatever. I think it's a kind of a raw deal for the UCF guys. But
I mean, the toughest part for the UCF guys is so many of them are from Florida.
Right.
Like they have much bigger things on their mind, for one, and for two, there's no way they got practice in today. Like the state was evacuated yesterday.
Practice today, tomorrow, meals,
right?
Training, all
film sessions, like recovery, like all of that stuff.
Right. Like it just feels like probably should have done something with it by now. But if we're going to talk football and there's going to be a game, it's hard to spin it this way, but like there's not a better time to be playing them. They're kind of that's
part of their plan. Is we're just going to wait as long as we can and then bag it.
They're kind of a mess right now. Like I know I don't keep pulse of every fan base in the country by any means, but I'm sure the Alabama fans are not having a great week and saying some pretty hilarious things. But like, I don't know if anybody's as bipolar as their fans, as UCF fans. Like,
no.
3 weeks ago, we're talking about,
Big 12 championship.
Big 12 championship, and now we're like, get rid of the quarterback for sure. Does a coaching change need to be made? So, they've had a very interesting start to the year. I mean, they played an FCS team. KJ Jefferson was not good in that game. Then they beat Sam Houston State, who's in their first year of FBS. They were getting smoked by TCU and had just call it miraculous fourth quarter comeback for a win on the road, and then have not really been competitive the last 2 weeks against Colorado and Florida. So essentially, in their P4 games this year, they have been non-competitive for 11 of the 12 quarters. I
guess here's my question, Dave. Outside of RJ Harvey, what are they good at?
They are good against the run somehow. But offensively, I mean, if you haven't watched UCF and all you know is KJ Jefferson from the Arkansas game in 2022, he ain't the same dude. I don't know what the deal is. Everybody thought it was a match made in heaven with him and Gus. I mean,
did you see Jake Golday was up on the podium yesterday?
Yeah.
And Scott Springer said to him, "You're about the same size as KJ Jefferson." And I think you can audibly hear me go.
Yeah, if Jake Golday added
Jake Golday could eat Corey Kiner and still be smaller than KJ Jefferson.
So, I mean, they cannot throw the ball. Like, can't do it.
No, I mean, everything. And if you look, it will look like he put up some pretty big passing numbers, but it's almost always just run after catch. Like, dump a ball 5 yards, and the guy runs 25 yards.
He's barely averaging over 200 yards a game. And that's, like I said,
I'm saying those 200 yards are coming on 4-yard throws.
I mean, their leading receiver, Kobe Hudson, one catch against Florida in a game they were down either 21-0 or 24-0 in the first half. So, like, you're down three scores and you still can't throw the ball. He does. I mean, we make jokes, and Chad and I can make jokes because we are in that same boat. But, like, from a running standpoint, dude looks like he's in slow motion. Like, does not look like the same guy. They have line issues, so I don't know if maybe he just is not confident back there. But, I mean, it is you're going to get a lot of the same stuff from Gus, the motion and the jet sweeps and you're going to have to be on your game in that regard because we know, RJ Harvey is great and Johnny Richardson is good and Penny Boone is another big back transfer that they got. So they're averaging over 300 yards a game on the ground. So they very well could just be like, we're just going to control the game and run it because we don't think these guys can stop the run.
Yeah.
But in the pass game, there's just nothing there. Defensively, like I said, they're pretty good against the run. They're bad against the pass. They have, if not last in the nation in sacks, they're right there. I think they only have 3 on the whole season.
3, yeah. We looked at it the other night. They have
not
3.
Getting pressure, not great in coverage. So again, hope that if you're going to play, if we're going to just put our hat on of how do we win and play this game? Hope that it stops raining. Hope that the field dries, and UC's passing game cannot be neutered by an incredibly soggy field. And hope that there's no residual. The weather seems like it would be fine by Saturday, but hope that there's no residual wind. That would be my concern, is that it might be sunny and nice, but there could be wind.
You would expect that, right?
That could potentially cause havoc for the pass game. But yeah, I don't. They've set a, and again, this might work in UC's favor, is that they really upped the pressure against Florida. So maybe they're kind of to the point where it's like we have to take more chances defensively, or teams are just going to walk it down the field on us in the pass game. But UC's done a pretty good job of handling pressure. Sorsby's done a good job of identifying pressure, getting rid of the ball. I really hope the game happens. I don't like the having 2 weeks off.
Yeah, you needed a week off to get healthy, but
yeah, I don't think they want 2 weeks off.
And you know what I don't want, Dave? I don't want to have to deal with the shootout and the UCF football game on the same day.
Well, that would be interesting how
or they would probably put it on conference championship week, because let's be honest.
Or maybe a Friday night.
These two teams aren't playing for a conference
probably
championship.
Probably not. Or could put it on a Thursday, could put it on a Friday. Let me see. I'm looking at.
They do not have the same bye week.
No, they do not.
Second bye.
Yeah,
so it would have to be the end, after the regular season, if they played, if it got canceled. I mean, I wonder if it was even feasible at all to move it up here. But something like that would have had to have been decided Monday.
The logistics behind it. Yeah, getting the players here. Is there a hotel that has, because you reserve all that stuff way in the off season. Yeah. So where is there a hotel that could accommodate an entire football team for several days?
A week, basically.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, maybe it gets pushed to Sunday, but it's probably either happening Saturday, Sunday, or at a yet to be determined day.
Yeah. This is with no knowledge. Sunday would seem to make more sense. It would at least give a little time for rescue crews and everybody that needs to get in and do the work that needs to be done. An extra 24 hours. That's just me thinking out loud. Yeah, but again, down there, they deal with this stuff all the time.
Right, but it's one thing to have 2 high schools playing that are close to each other and you just bump it back a little bit. It's another thing to have a team come in and bringing in all the the whole state's pretty much evacuated. Who's working the game?
Right. who's coming back to be ushers and
right, like
concessions and like I saw a video in Tampa this morning, somebody that had stayed, and they were right in like the main square in Tampa, and they turned their phone around. It was like 9:00 this morning, and they were the only person anywhere. And that was 12 hours before, the wall arrived. So
assuming there's power, their problem is going to be flash flooding.
Infrastructure.
From the lakes and rivers that are more around them on the east side of the state.
Yeah.
Is going to be flooding and power and infrastructure and what has been knocked out and knocked down. I mean, like I said, it's one thing if you just had two teams that happen to be there. They could probably go play a football game, but there's a little bit more that goes into that.
So yeah, we have no clue, and we're probably not going to know until Friday. If I had to guess, like tomorrow, they're going to be dealing with the storm all day.
They'll be getting the brunt of that tonight and into tomorrow. Yeah. So you're not going to really know much at that point, or because a bunch of stuff has been
everything's wiped out, so it's an easy.
Yeah, like they have no
chance the storm makes the decision for you.
Yeah,
the storm could very well be the decision maker here. They are ripe for the picking. Now they are also potentially a wounded dog. Like that's the dangerous part, right? Like, but you wonder how much have they been able to really like play that up with this looming already? Right. Because everybody has known since last week that this thing was coming in the middle of the week and it was going to be a monster. Like I've been watching this talk of this storm pop up on social media since like Thursday, Friday last week. So have you even really been able to like focus on it? I've got people I know down in that area that, you're texting with them. Like they're like, hey, just boarded up the house. Wish me luck getting on the road.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say like wounded animal and, they're going to come out with their, whatever, but it's like, okay, go down there and go up 7-0 or 14-0 and then see where the minds where the minds start going to after that. And
if it's played, forget the work, like what fans would be there? Unless those people all just flood back into Orlando tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah, if I'm a student, I'm at my school's closed. I'm out of there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some that are hanging around and having hurricane parties. I can say that I've done that before, but like, yeah, like I'm not in a hurry to rush back into a city that I don't know if grocery stores are open, if there's any gas anywhere. Like, yeah, it's again, that's why I'm just kind of surprised that we're still kind of waiting to see what's going to go on here.
Yeah. Their secondary, like, is it a lot of it just like pass rush? Like they're just the quarterbacks. They're playing teams with decent quarterbacks and they're not generating any pressure. Because
no, they played Florida last year. They don't have any decent quarterbacks.
True. I mean, that Florida team, Florida should have smoked. Florida's bad.
Yeah.
And they controlled that entire game.
Yeah, I mean, that's weird. It was 24-0, I think, or 24-6. And then they cut it to 11 and got the ball back. And I think this is the thing that was annoying the UCF fans the most. It was like, for the team that's supposed to be the tempo team, like Gus is just taking his sweet old time. Down 2 scores in the second half. Like your defense is your defense had settled in and they shut them out the second half. And you're down 11 and you're just, we'll just take our time and hand the ball off and no real urgency, no, I don't know. It just seems, I think the whole thing about like dudes that are, at least for them, dudes that decided to exercise their red shirt is overblown. I mean, most of those guys were not even seeing the field. The only one that really played was Xavier Townsend, one of their receivers and return guys. So
the kicker was their kicker, right?
He was, but he's had quite an up and down career. I don't think that the guy that came in for him last week made both of his field goal attempts. I don't think they were too bent out of shape.
Okay, so he was their former kicker.
That the kicker decided. I mean, he was the kicker, but I don't really think they were like, oh my God, we have no one that can kick a football now.
Oh my God, the guy that couldn't kick the football is no longer going to be here kicking footballs for us.
Right. I mean, he's had some great games, and then he had some like terrible, misses. So, but and they're not really like. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but like, Sad is playing a ton of young guys. This was their year of like, this is our all-in year. This is year 4 of Gus. We're going to bring in we had a great recruiting class, but we're going to bring in a bunch of transfers. We're going to get KJ Jefferson, who fits, everybody thought fits exactly what he wants to do, and we're going to go for it. And so they can't even say that it's like a youth movement because all these really, really good, highly ranked freshmen that they brought in, they're not really playing. Or at least they have it through, I guess, what is this? 5 games for them?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, making a prediction for this game seems like, who the hell knows? But, if all the analytics that I look at have these teams essentially the same. And I just think UC is, call it what it is. They're in a way better spot right now.
Yeah.
And if, this is a game that if it happens, it's not a must win or anything, but like when you look at the games to win, like go down there and get this win.
Yeah, then you're sitting at 4-2. You're 2 wins away from bowl eligibility. You've got a couple winnable games, and you're not putting yourself in a position where you might have to go beat Kansas State or Iowa State on the road in November. Like that's bad math. Like having to do that, and look, Arizona State's beatable. Like that's not a great team. I don't think
they do play Friday night, but they play Utah, which is the team you want your next opponent to play before you play them, because it's going to be physical. It's going to be, a fight. So and then you get the noon game we get the body clock game.
9 a.m. How do you not assure those teams that you're not?
Congratulations, you get an extra day after you get beat up by Utah, but now you get to play at noon on the East Coast.
How do they not just assure those teams that are in a 3-hour time zone that we're not going to make you play at noon on the East Coast? Like that is doable, right? That is doable.
You would think.
And I think if I was one of those schools, I would demand it.
I want verification on, because I was under the impression, and I could be 100% wrong, that if it's an ESPN Plus game, that the home team can determine the time of the game.
I don't think they can determine. I think they can have a say, or
well, then UC is damn well going to say we wanted it noon.
Noon, sure. When do you want to play the team from Arizona? Noon.
We've said it all the time. Coaches want every game at noon. Administration wants every game at 3:30.
Right. Fans want every game at 7:00.
Unless you're coming from Arizona to Cincinnati, then I don't think the coaches want the game at noon.
No. Let's get a bunch of these, 19-year-olds up at
I'm already dreading
5 a.m.
I'm already dreading next year, though, because we will be playing a game. We're going to play at Arizona or at Arizona State next year.
It's going to be 10 p.m.
At 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, how am I supposed to do this? Was it Thursday night, 10 p.m. Utah tip?
Oh, we get
There's a 0.0% chance I see any of that game.
so you know that what did you pay attention?
No.
Utah BYU is Saturday, Tuesday out there.
Oh, is it Tuesday? Yeah.
Saturday, Tuesday, 10 p.m. Both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them. 10 o'clock.
Saturday one, okay.
Huh.
Tuesday, 10 p.m. Like, I'm not staying up for that.
Just take Wednesday off.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, sorry, boss. I need the day off because my basketball team didn't get done till 1 in the freaking morning.
You don't have to give it. You can just not tell the full. I'm not gonna condone lying, Dave.
I know.
But you could call that morning and say, "Hey, I don't feel good."
Yeah, I would, but you know the thing that bothers me the most about those situations is like when you stay up that late and your team loses.
Yeah, it's awful.
Because it's not like you, as soon as the game ends, you're like, all right, time for bed, and you just fall right asleep as soon as the game's over.
Right? No. Well, we have to do a show. Like I'm going to be up until 3 o'clock in the morning on those nights.
11 Eastern kickoff, UC at Arizona. Come join Chad and Aaron in the aftermath while you're eating freaking breakfast.
Dude, but we did that. The BYU game was a weeknight,
Dreadful.
and it was
The
we got
BYU
like
game
we went on
started at
air.
10:15. This is 45 minutes later.
We went on air at like 1 a.m.
Arizona, Texas Tech kicked off at 11 o'clock last Saturday night.
Yeah. 12, 1, 2, 30, 3. The old 3 a.m. night aftermath. What's my problem with that? When I do one of those nights, my sleep schedule is fucked for a week.
Well,
Like
yeah.
my body is just like, oh, we stay up until 4 o'clock now. And I go to bed and I put my head on the pillow at like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And my body's like, what are you doing?
No,
We're up for 4 more hours, bro.
it's rough. It's rough.
Kelsey is probably going to be too sick to go to school after that Tuesday 10 p.m. tip. Like, without question. I would say, Josh, we have a general rule. I don't care how late you stay up. As long as you're not a pain in the ass in the morning and you get up and you get ready and you're ready to go to school on time, do what you got to do. That's just good parenting, Dave.
I agree. Their actions have consequences.
Right? If you stay up and you're a pain in the ass in the morning and I have to like physically like drag you out of bed and get you ready, then you stayed up too late. If I walk in the morning and say, hey, you up? And she says, yeah, I'm up. We're good. I don't care how late you stay up.
Yeah.
Oh, for me having to take her to school, she can ride the bus that morning, Josh. No, I don't think you understand. I am curating the biggest UC basketball fan on the planet. She had fall break last week. She was off Friday and Monday. What do you want to do for fall break? Her answer, go to basketball practice. And we did. And she sat there for 2.5 hours both times and watched basketball practice. So that's what we did for fall break. Is like she had to come in before we started the show tonight, say hi to her buddy Wes. She reminds me every time. Wes likes me more than you. Dre likes me more than you. Drew probably likes you more than me, but I have the majority. Dollar likes me more than you. Like everybody there likes me more than you. And then again, I have to remind her that I am not that likable. So that is not too far-fetched of a...
You're not clearing a very big bar or a very high bar.
But no, she is diehard UC basketball. Like that it's going to be difficult as she gets older in life to be a bigger UC basketball fan than her, because there will be no one her age that has ever had the chance to have that type of experience. So yeah, she's diehard. She will be up watching that Utah game at 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday for sure.
You can text me about it in the morning.
I'll have her text you about it on the way to school. I might even. She hasn't missed any school this year, so I might let her. She keeps it up. I might let her take that day off.
So I guess I need to give like a score for Saturday.
That's just what I was going to get to. What is your prediction?
Part of me wants to say like, you've beat in 2 years in the Big 12. You've won one road game and you've beaten Houston twice. So part of me wants to say like I need to see it first, but I think there's a lot going against the Knights of Gold in this particular week. And if they play the game, I'm going to go UC 31, UCF 27.
Yeah, I 31 might even, unless it's windy, like crazy windy, like you said. Against this UCF defense, 31 might even, especially this is crazy, Dave. I almost want the other teams to have a good run defense. So UC can just here goes Sorsby.
Well, I think part of that is like
against a bad pass defense.
UCF is going to run the ball a bunch. So like, how many possessions are you going to get?
Yeah. Stop them.
Well, yeah, but yes, I agree. But through 5 games, that's been elusive on the ground to stop them.
I will say this. Colorado was a bad run defense until they played UCF, and they held them to like 2.8 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But
I don't know. But I make Sorsby is look, Tyner's probably, even if he plays, probably not going to be 100%. If it's like
he's not getting 20, 25 carries. Let's be real.
Right. So give it to Sorsby and let him chuck it around. I'm all for that. I'll have my prediction Friday if there's a game. What's the plan? You gonna watch it at home? Just kind of hang out?
Yeah.
Your family came down and jinxed the Texas Tech game, so
yeah, we're good at that. Yeah.
Well, make sure you join us at the Holy Grail if the game happens. 3:30. We'll be ripping and roaring and ready to go.
Jeff and I talked about it on Sunday. I hope the olive branch was extended considering the weather that we're going to have this weekend. I mean, could have just had this game up here.
I do think there was a path to that. I think if like Sunday or Monday, if these two sides would have said, let's do it. Like, we'll donate all the proceeds to hurricane relief, get your truck loaded and send it up here.
Yeah.
The team can come up on Friday once everything passes. Like, if there was a path,
not having
by the time you got through Monday, there was no chance that you were going to be able to make the logistics happen. Like, if you've never been around that like loading area on the Shank Pavilion, like on a game week, like it is chaos.
Oh yeah.
With all the deliveries being made and, getting everything ready and getting the food there and the beer there and, the soft drinks and everything that has to happen to make a game operate properly. Like, that is an all week process. So if they didn't know and it would even been tough if they had known on Sunday or Monday, but like that would have had to have been a decision that had to be made quick. And guess what? I'm telling you, these people down there are so like, it's just in their brains. It's not something that they spend a lot of time stressing about. It's part of their like fall routine. There's going to be hurricanes. We're going to have to deal with them. It is part of life living in Florida.
Florida Man didn't get his name Florida Man on accident.
For no reason. Right. Like, they just, that's how they see it. Okay, storm's going to move through. It'll be here on this day. It'll be out, 36 hours later. We'll come back into town. We'll assess the damage. We'll clean up and we'll keep it moving. So they just don't stress. Like, we look at it and we're like, holy shit, no. Like, I don't want anything to do with any of that. And they look at it and go, I guess we're going to be inconvenienced Wednesday through Friday this week.
Yeah.
They just see it differently than we do. So that's, I wish that they would see it the way that we see it and have like some urgency about it. Like, hey, we're about to get fucked. Like, we need to get out of here. And if we're going to play this game on Saturday, and instead they're like, we'll figure it out Friday afternoon, which to us is insane. But what can you do? All right, let's timestamp it. That is your Turtles Brew timestamp, brought to you by our good friends at Turtles Brew. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, 6% ABV, gluten-free, important. Bourbon-infused sweet tea. They have lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. 100 locations, more than 100 locations in and around Ohio. 50 plus in Greater Cincinnati. If you want to get it, it is delicious. It's great for just hanging out on a weekend. A great pool drink, even though like the pools are closed now, unless you're a crazy person. But and a good winter drink as well with the bourbon. So turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. What else should we get into real quick here, Dave? The letter of intent is gone.
Wait, what? I thought. Huh?
The national letter of intent is gone. It is no longer a thing.
Good.
Yeah. I have been.
Never understood why anybody would sign one of those anyway.
Right. Like my kid would never have signed a national letter of intent. It was one-sided. The only benefit that a student got was it, in theory, like held your spot.
No, it didn't.
Like in theory, it held your spot until they needed your spot, and then they just released you from your letter of intent and kept it moving. Now it's just going to be like scholarship papers. Like, there will be a signing period. I personally, Dave, I don't think there should be a signing period. There's not a signing period for a regular college student.
I agree. I think if you know what you want to do and a school is agreeable to that, you should be able to sign.
You sign it, you send it in. Like, there should be like a limit on like what year you can do it. Like within your senior year. Like for me, this is how I would do it. The day your senior year starts, like the first day of school, your senior year, you can sign your scholarship papers and commit. Like,
I think it should be. I think it should be the day your junior year ends.
To give them all summer to do it,
because you take visits and you're like, I like it here. They like me. I'm done with this crap.
Yeah, I would just make it first day of senior year. You're allowed to sign. And if they're going to send you the scholarship papers and you're going to send them back, like, you two are now married. I know why schools don't like it, because they want to watch tape of the kid as a senior and decide. I know why kids are hesitant, but guess what? You don't have to sign it at that point in time. Or a school doesn't have to send it at that point in time. But I think any time after your first day of your senior year, this process should be allowed to happen. That's not.
I think that gives you. Does that give the athlete a clear picture of who actually is interested? Like, if I might really like the school, but they haven't sent me any papers to sign, so that.
That's how schools send out like NLIs.
Yeah.
Like in the past, like you have seen kids like, so the signing period will end and then a kid will commit 3 weeks later. And what has happened is the schools that he was interested in all sent him a letter of intent.
Right.
And then he signed one and faxed it in, and everybody just kept it quiet until the announcement. So does that mean kids will be flipping schools throughout their entire senior year? They do that already now, Josh. Yes, of course. Flipping high schools? No. But basically the only thing that's going to change is, instead of a national letter of intent, they will be signing scholarship papers in the designated signing periods. They're just getting rid of the letter of intent, which was a very one-sided, absolutely ridiculous document that had no benefit for the kid and had every benefit for the school. So I don't mind that it's gone.
No.
Real quick, you want to touch on the Super League?
And
That a no?
no, yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, what, $9 billion or something? I mean,
Yeah.
sure. Again, who's in charge? Like,
Private equity is in charge, Dave. Saudi Arabia, probably.
I want to, as long as we're in the Bonesaw Conference, I'll be cool with it. I mean, I guess for this show purposes, I should read the stuff, but I have no interest in it. Like, there's such far-flung ideas that no one is truly sitting down and looking at this point. Like,
Right.
I'm just like, guys can't even figure out player compensation. You can't figure out NIL. You can't, I mean, so many things you can't figure out. And we're going to talk about this?
Well, it's the thing, Dave. This is not the NCAA. This will be a new thing, and they will be able to figure out all of their own stuff without the NCAA.
Right. So without who's running enforcement? Who's putting together the rules and the bylaws of this new Super League?
That's what'll have to be decided.
Sure. I mean, it sounds like UC will be or would be I mean, it's the number thrown around is like 70. That's essentially all the P4 schools and maybe somebody else. I don't know, but like, but then now you have. I did see that now you have like the talk of even, and this is what you and I talked about how long ago, was like, when is the SEC going to kick out Mississippi State? We're already seeing the conversation of, I did see like a tweet where even in the big conferences like Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Texas, Notre Dame, maybe Georgia, like they contribute X number of their whole pool. So when are they like, well, yeah, we want a higher percentage, because even though we've separated from the MAC and the Sun Belt and that, like, we're still the catalyst for most of this revenue. So we want more than the Minnesotas and the UCs and programs like that. So you're just probably going to end up in the same structure you're in now.
Yeah. And there's already like, this, if you're ever going to, and this is just the reality, there were numbers that came out this week that, shockingly, like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, like generate like, 40% of the revenue
that's what I mean.
for the
Like,
entire
so
sport.
they're gonna want an equal share to their to what they contribute, even in this super whatever they're gonna call it.
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to get them in it. Like, they already have a pretty sweet setup where they're at. So if they're going to leave where they're at and go to something new, they're going to have some pretty serious demands that are going to involve being even more distanced from the pack in revenue and, whatever treatment that they want above and beyond to get them to come on board. So,
I'm old school. I just like talking about the games.
Oh, you're so old school.
No, but I mean, like, yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. Like, UC's in a better place now than they've ever been. They need to, all sports need to elevate their standing in the Big 12 and nationally, and we'll see what comes down the road. But let's focus on the controllables at this point.
Yeah, the one thing I do like is that it's if it ever happens, you're seeing what I've been talking about for years and years and years and years. They're not going to cut to like 32 because you are leaving hundreds of millions and billions of dollars on the table, just lopping off 40 teams that are big, like land grant schools, like schools that generate a lot of interest, a lot of eyeballs, a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And that the reason the NFL is at 32 teams is because it grew to 32 teams. And if they could grow to 60 teams, they would.
Well, here's the other thing. If you're only at 32, there's no one to beat up on.
Right. Well, I don't know. There's plenty of teams that get beat up on in the NFL. The Jets have been a punching bag for decades.
But but those teams don't have, I think that's the hardest part about these bigger conferences is the mindset of, like, as a fan, we've always been at a certain level, and right now we're not at that level. Like, if you go to 32, someone that's won a lot of games and maybe national championships
is going to be the doormat
in their history, is going to be the 6-6 team.
Yeah.
Or the 5-7 team.
Or the 3-9 team.
Right. Depending on who, right. And do those schools want that?
Right.
Do those coaches want that? Like,
yeah. So 70 makes a lot of sense because you're not going to eliminate a century of 40 schools with tradition and money and influence, and even if Indiana football stinks, Indiana has a massive fan base, and like you're not just going to lop that off, even if they probably deserve to be lopped off of a football league. Although Keegan will probably yell at me that they're 6-0.
I think they played
Dave will probably yell at me.
Bloomington High this week.
Dave will probably yell at me that UC should have hired Kurt Signetti.
No, not yet. No.
You're still stuck on the dude from Troy.
No.
That's it. Too late now. Summerall.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. All right. But yeah, there's so much that needs to happen before that's even like a pipe dream. I don't see the SEC and the Big Ten agreeing to go away.
No.
And that's where it has to start. In order for this to happen, the Big Ten and the SEC have to die, and those teams have to join the Super League, and I just don't see it. I don't.
I mean, this is back to the UCF stuff, but like I'm reading the tweet from a little over an hour ago that the hurricane officially made landfall at Siesta Key. Sustained winds of 78 miles an hour with gusts of 97. I mean, that's considerably down from what they were. Like, I don't know the exact barometers, but like, that's Cat 2, maybe Cat 3.
I think it's actually about where they were initially predicting it to be when it made landfall. And then all of a sudden it wasn't dying down at the rate that they thought it was.
Well,
it got closer to land.
Yeah, I saw it was huge. And then it was going to be like around 120 when it hit.
Yeah.
And if this is the case, so, I guess, We
That's
shall
why
see.
they laid it out, Dave. That's why these people are just like, look, we've been through this 100 times. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah,
Yep.
now the SEC can't kill off Vandy. They took the goalposts and threw them in the river. There's something now.
Yeah.
It's big time.
All those bachelorette parties, how annoyed were they?
Oh, furious. Furious. These stupid college kids ruined my night.
Yeah.
Because the Cat 3 at landfall, the storm surge problem down there along the coast. Well, yes. Orlando's not along the coast. There's a reason they call it Central Florida University. We didn't get our normal amount of digs in this year.
No, I'm not gonna.
T's and P's to the people of Orlando.
Yeah, I mean,
You know how many?
It's a rough
You
deal.
know how many lobbies of Howard Johnsons are flooded?
I mean, they're all making. You know,
They're having a rough week.
they probably have full occupancy though, or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Geoff, the beauty of Central Florida University is it's a lot of things. It's Orlando Technical Institute. It's Central Florida University. Like there's a lot of different things that we call that place.
Yeah, Hilton Garden Junior College.
That's probably more relevant than mine. Like mine, you know, the Howard Johnson. There's not a lot of youngins that understand what a Howard Johnson is.
Old Hojo.
But all right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I'm.
We do not call them Space U. They want to be called that. We do not call them. The point is, you call them everything that they don't want to be. You never call them what they want to be called.
No six-pack this week, Dave.
Oh, I can do one real quick if you like.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about the six-pack. Rip it out real quick.
Let's see. Ohio State, Oregon. I know that one's going to be on there.
That's next week, right?
I thought it was this week. Yeah, Ohio State, Oregon, 7:30 NBC.
Okay.
I think Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country, but I want to see them play someone that is also pretty good. I'm not saying they've had a cupcake schedule, but it hasn't been the most daunting comparative to the other teams at the top of the sport right now. So very interested in that one. We'll go Ole Miss at LSU, 7:30 ABC. Great rivalry. Both teams 5-1, or Ole Miss 5-1, LSU 4-1. Someone's getting the second loss. So, you know, that puts them in a weird, you know, this bigger SEC, you're going to play each other a bunch, and somebody's not making the playoff that hopes of making the playoff with Alabama, Tennessee taking unexpected losses last week. You know, Ole Miss probably taking an unexpected loss to Kentucky. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Can Vandy bounce back? Like, not bounce back. Can they continue the momentum? Spread is 13.5. This feels like that line is like a major Vanderbilt is going to have a huge letdown game. But it's an interesting one for sure.
It also could be a huge letdown game for Kentucky.
Why?
They just beat Ole Miss.
Oh, that's true. But that was not last week. That was 2 weeks ago.
Were they on a bye last week?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, they just won a big game too.
That was the same week as the UC Texas Tech game.
Texas Tech, that's right. I don't know what day it is.
I'm trying to. Let's see. Red River. You got Texas, Oklahoma.
Yep.
Sounds like Quinn Ewers will be back for this one. Big spread, 14.5. Seems wild for this game, but That's a good 3:30 one on ABC. And then I'm gonna do Louisville at Virginia. Virginia, surprise 4-1. Louisville takes the loss to new ACC member SMU.
Yeah.
If they drop this one, they will be 0-3 in the ACC because I assume their Notre Dame game counts as an ACC game in their goofy little relationship that they have.
I mean, it's
Situationship.
maybe that Louisville roster is not as good now that all Scott Satterfield's players are gone and Jeff Brom's got all his guys in there.
Maybe. That's 5, right? I gotta find one more here. Sorry for not being more.
Louisville's kind of like the Bengals, right? Like Tyler Shaw's been really good, and they aren't any good.
Yeah. Oh man. This is great podcasting. Me looking at my phone for another game to pick.
This is your segment. You're supposed to be ready for this.
I know. I've been very busy.
Jeez.
Kansas State at Colorado, 10-15.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
4-1 versus 4-1. What does Colorado have? They've looked good lately. Are they better than some thought? Kansas State, big bounce back win 2 weeks ago against Oklahoma State after they lost at BYU. So winner of that game probably feels real good about where they're at. Loser still probably feels good, but going to be hard to make the Big 12 title, I think, this year. If you've got your second Big 12 loss in the beginning of October.
I wish I cared enough about Louisville to troll their fan base the way they trolled UC when UC hired Satterfield.
I don't care about anything as much as they cared about that.
I know. They still do it.
They
still show up after every loss.
Randomly get things in the Bearcat Journal Twitter replies and mentions from them. I'm like,
yeah, we get it on the YouTube all the time.
What are we doing? Is it that boring down there?
Like every Scott Satterfield press conference, it feels like it has at least one Louisville fan that's got something to say. Get a life. All right. Are you done?
I'm done.
All right. We're done. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Big special thanks to Wes Miller for joining us and putting his sushi on hold. I hope it didn't go bad.
Well, it probably wasn't gas station sushi, so he's probably all right.
No, it was E&O Kitchen, so it should have been okay. But it wasn't as fresh as probably he wanted it. But I hope he didn't think he was coming on here for 10 minutes. Like, that ain't how we roll. This is normally where I would gaslight Dave for another 120 seconds to get to 2 hours. But this time, I'm going to give him what he wants, and that is a show that is under 2 hours at 1:58. They're 1 hour and 58 minutes. We'll see you next week. It's the BCJ podcast. We'll see you at the Holy Grail Saturday if there's a game. Brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com.